So let's begin with some sound that you may not have heard, which is Donald Trump debating Bill O'Reilly, the man who came out of the closet as the left-wing demagogue he has always been. Listen now on the Savage Nation.
I think you're wrong about the 14th Amendment, and frankly, the whole thing with anchor babies and the concept of anchor babies, I don't think you're right about that.
I think can quote it. You want me to quote you the amendment? If you're born here, you're an American. Period.
But there are many lawyers are saying that's not the way it is in terms of this. What happens is they're in Mexico, they're going to have a baby, they move over here for a couple of days, they have the baby. No, but Bill, they're saying it's not going to hold up in court. Now it's going to have to be tested, but they say it's not going to hold up in court. Regardless, when people are illegally in the country, they have to go. Now the good ones, and there are plenty of good ones, will work it so it's expedited. We can expedite it where they come back in, but they come back legally. Bill, we have a country. You need borders and you need law.
I said that for decades. I've been saying that, but you are not going to be able to deport people.
So O'Reilly has not said it for decades. Turn it off. Turn it off. No, he's trying to play it both ways. O'Reilly is a long-time left-wing operative who pretended to be a conservative. Now when the real issues come down, the rubber meets the road, so to speak, take a guess which side O'Reilly is on. He's on the side of Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and the New World Order crowd. Let me explain something to you. I know the 14th Amendment intimately. I have it in my hand. The unconstitutionality of citizenship by birth to non-Americans is a fact of life. Let me read it to you. And I'm reading it to you from the gentleman, Senator Howard of Michigan, who actually wrote the amendment in the Senate in 1866. Mr. O'Reilly, did you know it was written in 1866, right after the Civil War? And do you know why the 14th Amendment was written? To make sure that the freed slaves were accepted as American citizens. It was never intended to admit the world, nor was it intended to permit birthright citizenship, nor birth tourism. I'll read it to you. This amendment, Mr. O'Reilly, Bill O'Reilly, pay attention. I know you have very big ears. This amendment, which I have offered, is simply declaratory of what I regard as the law of the land already, that every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law and national law a citizen of the United States. Listen, there's another sentence, Mr. O'Reilly. You have got to read on. You got to read the whole thing, not a piece of it, because this is in the amendment. Quote, this is by the guy who wrote the amendment. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens who belong to the families of ambassadors, or foreigners, aliens who belong to the families of ambassadors, or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons. This, and he's writing now, I'm not repeating something in my own head. Here's the man who wrote it. He said, it settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not the citizens of the United States, close quote. So it's clear that the framers of the 14th Amendment had absolutely no intention of freely giving away American citizenship to just anyone simply because they may have been born on American soil, something our courts have wrongfully assumed. But there is one sentence and one clause that does need discussion. As Mr. Trump said, it'll have to be determined in the courts. What exactly did, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, that's the quote, mean to the framers of the 14th Amendment? Well, I have an answer for that as well in the Savage Nation. Senator Lyman Trumbull, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, author of the 13th Amendment, and the man who inserted this phrase said this, quote, the provision is that all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. That means subject to the complete jurisdiction thereof. What do we mean by complete jurisdiction thereof? Not owing allegiance to anybody else. That is what it means. In plain English, only children born to American citizens can be considered citizens of the United States, since only an American citizen could enjoy the extent and quality of jurisdiction of an American citizen now. That settles the case. And I'll tell you something else. You want to hear what established law is? That's established law. It was never intended to permit the world to dump their babies on our shores and turn them into instant citizens who can then bring in the mother, the father, the aunt, the uncle, the cousins, and the grandparents. It is either a nation of borders, language, and culture, or it's nothing. It ceases to exist. If you remember your high school biology, it's very simple. You learned what a cell was, and you saw that a plant cell had defined cell walls. Remember? A thick cell wall. That was the extent of the cell of a plant. That cell wall permitted the good stuff to stay in and the bad stuff from coming in, by the way. An animal cell has a cell membrane. Same thing. Without a cell wall or a cell membrane, there is no cell. It dissolves. It oozes out into the greater body. If that's what you want for America, a nation that is dissolved in front of your eyes, well, keep going along with Bill O'Reilly, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama.